All right, good morning. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. Market is off to a rather kind of flat start for the indexes, but we are seeing some movement, some kind of different action in some different places. But 75% of the market's just kind of meh. In terms of what's happening and what it's doing. You don't have to go out and look too far in the news to see a lot of different hyperbole of what's going to happen next, a crash. You got Norel Rubini out there talking about a shock could create a crash. Well, a shock at any time could create a crash. So, that's something that the market could experience any given day, any time. You have one economist saying that the market is set to double from here. It is just, a lot of different opinions there, but not a lot of news. When it comes down to it, if you look at this weekend, first, I guess, news spot is U.S. President Trump's Twitter feed. But there really isn't a heck of a whole lot. We saw Europe trade pretty flat here overnight. And, some of the stuff that was ongoing is still ongoing. Some of the riots in Hong Kong, the Iranian situation that's kind of getting a little bit worse. Iran basically said to Europe, it's 10 days until they breach and have more nuclear stockpiles than what the treaty accounts for there. So you have that stuff going on and continuing, but not a huge market reaction from it. And then you have most of the market just kind of looking forward to Wednesday and the Fed here. We had a really ugly Empire State Manufacturing number that we'll go look at here in a moment. But that's kind of what the market's waking up to here. Not a ton, in it, directionally speaking with the indexes. I mean, it was last Monday where I got on and we talked about the 2,900 level on S&P futures. And that right now in this market, and I'm not a big believer in even numbers. But when the market doesn't have another catalyst, even numbers rule. And right now, I know the news headlines have a whole bunch of stuff, but there's not a major catalyst for the market. And so this 2,900 number, is ruling and continues to rule here. All right. Now, challenge. Let's go take a look at that. We have a little bit of a different day here this morning than what we've had, so far in the challenge. So let's go out and take a look. We have one position on the board. It's not different in terms of entry triggers. There are no new entry triggers this morning. Boeing, EOG, both could trigger here today. They're both close. The consolidation risk component is just a little high, but Boeing here to the upside. This is one that had a 3-7 downside crossover last week. It did not trigger, to the bearish side. Has the little upside, catalyst here. The upside 3-7 action isn't triggering to the upside right here, but could easily do so by the end of the day. And then EOG Resources, which is an oil company, has a 3-7 downside crossover here, but the consolidation risk on it is pretty high right here. So neither counting as a trigger here just yet. Obviously, they could by the end of the day, with how they sit. But a lot of things, that just, a lot of things have been like Boeing, where they've had a 3-7 downside crossover, and they really haven't gone down. Right? Or they've had an upside 3-7 crossover and really haven't gone up. A lot of stuff's just kind of been in that chop area, and so we just aren't seeing a lot of signals, really come into play here just yet. I was surprised JD didn't trigger bearish on Friday. I was very surprised, and but the consolidation risk just way too high, and we see it kind of snapping on back here a little bit. So that leaves with one position on the board, and that's Verizon. And Verizon has been, we've been in it now. This is the third day. It had kind of been grinding on higher for us a little bit. Nothing too dramatic either way. But this morning it opened up and weakened, and then it went green, and then it just came in and flushed. And let me show it to you here. Because we don't have to make, I'm not making a change on it here just yet. But you can just kind of see on the minute chart here. I mean, it was just straight down. it was just absolutely straight down. And I looked for some news and stuff like that. I know with Verizon, it doesn't have to have news to make this type of move. But then I looked at AT&T, and AT&T doesn't have the same type of move. And so, I kind of look at it and I go, okay, you know what? This probably has a lot to do with, their investor day here tomorrow and a fund or two kind of getting spooked off there with that, here on the horizon and selling Verizon before that. Now, for the challenge, we have our stop exit level and we have our, price target level. Our exit level is 56.14. Right, and right now Verizon is trading at 57.29. Right, so Verizon's pretty much trading right where we got in, at least for the stock price standpoint. The option price here, let's go take a look here at it. We're down $90 on it now. So the stock price, but we've had that time decay kind of creep in on it here for the couple days, so $1.90 there. It takes away our gain, so we're sitting with about a $96 loss here on it. It is in a position right here where the time stop will kick in on the close if it is red. So if it were 12:30 or 2:30 Eastern, we would be backing on out of Verizon and moving on. But so far, nothing really to adjust, nothing really to change here with it. I did get asked earlier as Verizon was falling, Jeff, is this the type of scenario where you're going to step in and make a change even though it doesn't fill parameters? And my response was no, not at all. This isn't even close to the kind of scenario where I'd step in and override something. There's nothing really to override. It's it's Verizon. Verizon has a tendency to do this. I mean, we saw Verizon these 2 days, boom, boom, and then stack up, and it's Verizon, and so it's one where something like this doesn't have to have news, something like this doesn't have to have anything associated there with it. But when you're in the options, and we had about a 30% gain, and okay, it was in a really nice spot to really build on that gain. And this type of move kind of makes it difficult for us to be able to hold it too much longer. We'll probably get time stopped out, like we have for, I guess the majority of the trades so far this challenge. Procter & Gamble, JD, J&J, all time stamped out. So, we're probably headed for that direction here on Verizon, barring something massive, and again, I'm not going to put it past Verizon to do something dramatic here for the rest of the day, here with it. But nothing to change for the challenge, and running here with it. Okay. So that leaves the challenge at about $7,000 in gains. We've already pulled out the $3,000 original capital there. So running here with the 7,000 in gains, we have about $22.80 risk there on Verizon, and the delta on it, in case it's going to fall off a cliff. What's going to happen? The delta is about $800. So if it were to drop another dollar from here, $800, that would sting, but definitely isn't going to put the challenge in a position of change or risk either way. So going to continue to run here with Verizon. We'll see what this afternoon kind of brings us here with this time stop. As I talked about it last week, me, I would love to be able to hold this through the analyst day tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow after the market closes. But again, this is just something where we'll see if it decides to hold it through that. Great. If not, we'll move on and go forward there. All right. Netflix here today. Big bounce. We had an analyst come out and say, hey, you know what? Subscriber levels are pretty good. If we look at search trends, subscriber growth is going to be pretty solid. That's a common type of metric that we see analysts use now, or search trends. trends, search patterns. It's kind of a tool. So, we had the whole Disney launching, their own streaming platform, and, we have, Netflix fell on that a little bit last week. Then today, kind of snapping right on back here on that positive analyst commentary, not really getting a dynamic trend, coming into play. We do have Facebook, which has a little bit of a cryptocurrency catalyst. I shouldn't say a little bit, a big cryptocurrency catalyst that has some of the cryptos out there kind of buying Facebook. You think about Facebook, you think about the overall what's happening there. If Facebook's able to have cryptocurrency, it becomes a kind of a different beast, and it becomes a stock where you have to start wondering about the $600 to $800 price level on Facebook. And I know that sounds absurd with the stock sitting at $185, but Amazon, when they were back here in 2014, they were sitting around 300, right? 2013, under 200, tier to about 300. And, we talked about it back then, and we talked about how they were stepping into Amazon Web Services. And it was a day after they had their earnings, and their earnings missed, not on the numbers, but on the expense side. They spent a ton of money, and people are worried Amazon's spending way too much money. And we looked, okay, where are they spending this money? They're spending it on Amazon Web Services. That's a different ball game. That's a new thing. That is a revenue driver for the future. That's the type of catalyst that's going to take this stock from 300 to 1,000. It's not going to be, we're going to sell more stuff online that's going to take it up. Now, Amazon said, forget 1,000. Let's go to 1,600. Let's go to 1,800. It is blown through the $1,000 level. But right now, when you look at Facebook, it's a similar type of situation where you have a company that, given everything that Facebook is probably worth about $200. You slap on crypto, and if Facebook kind of becomes the legitimate, crypto site, a place where people kind of relate to crypto, right? Because most people, they don't relate to Bitcoin, right? If I go talk to my family or talk to some friends, I say, hey, what do you think about Bitcoin? They go, what, is that something in the computer? What, I don't quite, right? It doesn't quite jive, right? It doesn't quite, settle for mainstream use. But you know what? Almost everybody I know has a Facebook account. If Facebook starts using crypto and they're able to kind of relate and go, okay, this is how it works. Now you start to see a legitimization there of the cryptocurrency, and Facebook becomes the face of it, not Bitcoin. And that is something that could drive Facebook, $600, $800 a share, just because of that. Just because of that. And I know that's kind of outlandish thing to say, how stock's going to go up that much. That's ludicrous and all of that. But that's how game-changing, I believe, or revolutionary it is with Facebook doing what they're doing. And to me, it just compares to Amazon and going into web hosting in a big way into the Amazon Web Services. And, it's never a smooth, easy transition. But, it is one where if they pull it off, it is a huge boon to shareholders, and, is something that, could have Facebook even trading up over 1,000 when it comes down to it 3 to 4 years from now. Okay? So anyway, those are some of the things kind of going on out there. As I mentioned earlier, we did have the Empire State Manufacturing number here. So Econo Day, let me show it to you. It's I believe a 6-year low in the number. It was an ugly number, and let's see here. Yeah, minus 8.6, and last month was 17.8, yeah. It was expected to come in at 10, came in at minus 8.6. You can see on this chart what that looks like. The Empire State is the bars here. And this is the first negative reading since kind of 2016. If you remember right here, 2016 market had taken a bit of a tumble, just prior to this number being released, and that definitely had something to do with it. But there's been a number that's been in the green. It had a real nice bump up last month, but really ugly number here. Right now for the Empire State Manufacturing Index. Does it matter? Not right now. Not right now. Right now, the market's looking at the Fed. Their meeting kicks off tomorrow. They come out with their statement here on Wednesday, and there's a lot expecting that the Fed is going to cut rates. So let's Fed funds future rate. We can actually see how much is being priced in there, because we see different numbers thrown around about in the media. But if we come in, let's see where it's at here. I haven't gone into it for a little bit. Let's see here. Fed Watcher tool. Let's see here if this is what they changed it to. Yeah. All right. So here we go. So basically right now, for this meeting, the current rate is 225 to 250, and there is an expectation, about 20% expectation, that they cut rates here this meeting. Right, so yeah, sure, in the media and in some of the written stuff that's out there, there's all this talk about the Fed cutting rates here on Wednesday, but market hasn't priced that in. They've only priced that in of a 20% chance that would happen. Where have they priced in a rate cut? They've priced it into July. Why? Why would they price it into July rather than June? Well, because the Fed typically every other meeting, on their bigger meetings, they will adjust rates. Normally on the meetings like what they're going to have this week, they don't make adjustments. So anything could happen, right? They have the ability to do anything, but market hasn't priced in the rate cut until next month, which makes me suspect, which makes me wonder and go, okay, you know what? If we see the Fed come out and not cut rates here on Wednesday, and the market decide to sell off that afternoon and maybe even into Thursday morning, is that going to get bought up aggressively by some of the big money out there? And I suspect that would be the case. Now, we'll see kind of how it plays out, how it will happen. But, I do suspect that if there is a sharp sell-off because the Fed doesn't cut rates, that sell-off will get bought up and get bought up very quickly, because, the market, the big money's not pricing in a rate cut here this week. They're pricing it in next month. And, some will argue they need to cut it sooner. Some will argue they don't need to cut it at all. But, whichever side of the road you sit on there, from a trader standpoint, it's about, the reactions and, do they kind of create some trend, some opportunity, some displacement that ultimately gives some, nice trade opportunity here. Okay. All right, so that's challenge. Some of the stuff kind of going on here this week with the Fed, and then we'll take a look at Facebook. From a long-term standpoint. I'm not talking from a go buy weekly options today because they're going crypto. No, from a long-term standpoint. A little bit game-changing. Now, maybe even a lot of bit game-changing there with Facebook. And then Netflix, this is one that I would not be surprised to see trigger, a bull signal. It couldn't happen today with how it's positioned, but could happen tomorrow. But it would be nice to play some Netflix higher and be able to trade this up to the 390, 400 level. We'll see how kind of Disney's release kind of affects it. Disney was downgraded today, and this just kind of looks like a little bit of pullback before that surge into a new high. Kind of coming up here for it. But anyway, thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a fantastic day. And we'll talk to you later. Take care.